What a huge win for the Broncos this weekend. Now, with 11 straight, people are starting to talk about the Super Bowl. With that in mind, we've reached to find one of the great true sports journalists of our time.
Hello, I'm Vic Lombardi.
And I'm Marie Liddy.
The television sports market has undergone a change in recent years.
God, those old videos, they always come back to haunt you. Hi, everybody. After the horn here, Ron Zappolo, Tom Green, Woody Paige. Our guest today, you've seen him, is a friend of the three of ours. And I will speak for myself here. He is unquestionably the best sportscaster in Denver on any level and has been so for quite some time. We are pleased to welcome our friend Vic Lombardi. It's always good to see you.
Fellas, there are a lot of podcasts out there. There are a lot of these
and this
types
is
of
one
shows.
of them.
And I can honestly tell you, I was so excited to be here because as soon as you guys developed this enterprise, I said, it's must watch for me because I grew up watching, listening, reading all of you guys, and it's truly an honor. But I do want to say this, in this business, you get called a lot of names via social media, grandpa, boomer, old man. If I'm an old man, what the hell are you guys?
We have one more ring around the tree.
I mean, where do we go? Where does that end? Because I look at that video of that. I think I was maybe 19, 20 years old there. And those are the formative years when I learned from guys like you.
We wanted to get Marie Liddy, but she couldn't do it. So we got you for the show today.
I have two questions to start out with. Is in that, when you were doing that, had you gone in for lips with
mouth Botox?
That's what it looked like.
I don't know what the hell that was.
But you talk about how old you've become.
Yeah.
How long have you been in the business in Denver?
25 years, 27 years. I got here in 1998, right before.
He's a newbie.
Yeah. I got here at the tail end of the 90s. As Ron and Tom understand, the 90s, 80s and 90s were sort of the halcyon days of local television, right? That's when everything was big and booming. And then it sort of went downhill from there. So it was probably at the end of that era.
But you'd grown up here.
Yes. I was born and raised in Denver.
Yeah.
And I grew up, again, watching and reading. And you guys, and I say this with ultimate sincerity, you guys are the reason I'm in this seat today. I mean, you're the reason. And that's the sort of the path I took as a child.
Is that credit or blame? I'm trying to see.
Both.
So, Tom, there's a point to all this. Tell people how long you've been in Denver.
43 years.
Mm-hmm.
I started in January of 82.
Okay.
Summer of 1977. So what's that? 40, I don't know.
48
years,
yeah.
48 years.
Yeah. Woody?
50 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Born and
It's
raised.
my 50th anniversary. When you add it up, that is basically 200 years or something.
But see, you guys are still all transplants.
No,
Yes, you're the only true.
I think it's
Denverite.
interesting because when you said 25 years, I thought it was longer, but because of growing up here, so much of your sports knowledge is from stuff you learned when you were 8 and 12 and 15 and
100%.
Just, watching games and admiring and becoming a fan.
Yeah. I mean, and those fandom days are long gone. Obviously, you get a little jaded when you're in this business. But that was my life. I wanted to be a sportscaster ever since I turned on the television and saw Ron Zappolo. I said, that's what I want to do.
I've addressed 5,000 college and high school classes. And I get this all the time. People say, who are you a fan of? And I go, me. That I like short games and games that are exciting. And I said, I'm not a fan of anybody's. I went to school in Tennessee. I really don't cheer and holler about Tennessee. The Broncos, I said, I sort of cheer for people that play for those teams or coaches that I like. And I have an affinity to pull for them quietly, but I said, I'm not a fan.
Are you serious though? I mean, you've never really had a team. And I don't know if I envy you or if I sympathize, Because you never had a team that you live and die with that you get nervous about, palms get sweaty.
My first college game that I covered civil rights in the South.
Yeah.
The assassination of Dr. King and marches, and I got tasered and I got tear gassed and everything else in the world. And that was my path. And we won't go through the story, but I ended up in sports because I wanted to write a column, because I wrote one in college for my college newspaper. And the only column that was available to me was in sports. So they moved me to sports, and they sent me to the Tennessee Ole Miss game in Jackson, Mississippi. And I'm so excited because Tennessee was my school, and I'm just going to go. Well, on the first drive, Tennessee is 4th and 1. The pass is made right at the edge of the pylon. And I get up and I'm going, get in, get in, get in, get in. 150 Mississippi media people are staring at me. And I'm thinking 140 of them are carrying guns. We're in Mississippi. And I sat down and I said, I can't be a fan if I'm going to do this. And Tennessee lost 30-0, and the quarterback for Ole Miss, vaguely remember Archie Manning.
He was a good football player.
Mm-hmm. So when Archie and I are together, he introduces me to people. Meet Woody Paige of the Memphis Commercial Appeal. And I said, that was 55 years ago, but he remembers that day also. So I decided, if you're going to do this, you can't have a feeling, because I don't think, as journalists, which we all are, that you can write with your tears in your eyes or having
you can't do that, but you can be a fan of. You cannot be a fan of teams you cover.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot. I could not. I care about a couple teams. I could not cover them. What you can do, if you're human, is you can root for people. Certain individual people to succeed. I think you can do that, and it doesn't affect your objectivity.
I wanted John Elway to win a Super Bowl.
Right.
But
and
that's what I think of your boy's heart. Like when you grew up here, your favorite player, your first sports hero was
Elway.
Really?
I'm a child of the 80s here, and Elway, developed. Listen, I can go behind.
Were you a Nuggets ball boy back in the 80s?
Yeah, I was a ball boy for Hansley.
Did you know when you were a ball boy?
Job.
Okay, I know you were a ball. When you were the ball boy, did that convince you, I'm never going to be a professional athlete, but I can definitely have a life that involves sports?
It's a great question, and it gave me a wonderful perspective, and I want to thank Pete Babcock. Do you remember Pete Babcock?
Sure. No, I remember him. Know him well.
Yeah,
and I hear from him.
Yeah,
so do I.
Is he writing a book?
I don't know, but he came to our high school to speak one day, Holy Family High School. And I think I was a sophomore at the time. And I sort of cozied up to him and said, hey, I would love to get into this business somehow. And he gave me the opportunity to be a ball boy. And you're so right, though, because I saw these giants, these men that were just like, look at me. What am I going to do? And that sort of eased me into a different platform, a different way of life. And it made me a little more comfortable around being a ball boy, made me comfortable around professional athletes.
Sure. You did something else too that neither Tom or I did, or I get Woody's in a different realm, but you ended up being a nighttime network sportscaster in the city in which you grew up, which I am.
That's what I was wondering about the fandom versus the professional
I would have
side.
loved to have done it, but I don't know if I could have.
Which is good and bad, Ron. I mean, it's funny because that was my dream and my aspiration was to come home and work here and home, right? But there's a lot of crap that goes on with that. There's a lot of shit that people don't understand, I guess. Maybe if you grew up here and then, when you get home, as I did, and okay, I've done it. Wow, man, the amount of pressure I felt when I first got back here. I had to go through some stuff for a while because it wasn't easy.
Internal, or did you feel it external? Like, were people really saying things to you, or
no,
you just
internal
just
pressure?
Sensitive?
Like, I'm here. I was very sensitive to that. There was a time there where I struggled. I struggled because you reach to a point in life where you think you've made it and you really haven't, and you're still trying to find yourself. I remember he gave me some advice. You're not going to.
I hope you didn't
Ron.
listen to it, Vic. Because I was probably lousy. I've given Tom advice too. It didn't work out.
I think I was a senior in high school, and I just randomly called Ron, and he was working at Channel 4, And I said, hey, I want to come and check out a sportscast. And he's like, yeah, whatever. So I come down and I'm watching him do his thing. Again, I'm just a kid. And I remember asking him for some advice, and he said, hey, man, you just got to learn to be yourself. Find your own voice. Be yourself. Because you always have role models, right? You always want to be somebody. But it took a long time, longer than I thought,
No, yeah.
Well,
to find myself.
That's
I hear
terrifying
you.
advice, because you got to go, I don't know me yet. I'm
Well,
a
it's
high school
hard,
senior.
but I
It
mean,
really
I always,
is.
you know, but one of the many reasons why I like and respect you is you did find your voice, and I'll tell you why. I watched you forever on 4 because I know a little bit about being the main sports anchor on Channel 4.
Yeah.
And I know how cool that was. You were always authentic.
Appreciate that.
You were always authentic. You weren't doing me. You weren't doing Tom.
Yeah.
You were Vic Lombardi. You took it in a different direction than I took it. And I watched you and I said, he gets it. He's authentic. He's
Yeah.
being himself. And I always felt, Vic, like if you're going to do the jobs that we did, they're going to fire you if you're not good. So you might as well go down
Yeah.
doing what, you think
Mhm.
is right. And I always felt with you that you did that.
I appreciate it. I mean, it's easier said than done. I mean, trying to be authentic. Sometimes you live by that imposter syndrome. I don't know if you guys have gone down
Just
that
talked
road.
about it with Kim
Sure.
Christensen
Did you
last
really?
week.
Yeah.
I think we
Yeah.
all experience it.
Every one of us.
But you had the chair. You were the preeminent sportscaster in town, but you left.
Yeah.
And it was tricky because the business was changing and the opportunity at altitude had come up. And it struck me as a really difficult choice for you that you really wondered about before and after what you did.
I thought I made the wrong choice for a long time,
Yeah.
to be honest with you. I mean, I remember taking that job going, oh, shit, what did I just do? And it took a while. Now, it's the best choice I ever made. But the reason I
You
got
could
out
have
of
blamed me, Vic, because I told you.
Yeah.
to do it.
Yeah, well, I sought counsel from a lot of people when I was making that decision, and it was a difficult choice.
Yeah.
But I made the choice for this reason. I came home one day for dinner. It was like 2014, 2015. And I look at my son who's in high school, and I said, hey, wait till you see this dunk I'm going to show on the sportscast tonight. Pulls out his phone, and he goes, you mean this one?
Yeah.
We've been looking
Yeah.
at this for 2 days on YouTube.
Yep.
And at that point, I said to myself, what am I doing? What is my role exactly? What am I going to give these people that they don't already have in this? That's why I got out of local news.
I look at our
Talking
clips.
about homes, if I could just
Yeah.
bring this into the conversation. I came to Denver and I'm writing like I did in the South. I'm a young columnist and I'm writing honestly. And honestly includes negativism.
Sure.
And I'm watching the anchors on TV stations referring to the Broncos as we.
Yeah.
Well, we played well against the Chargers, but 55-6, it didn't turn out so well. And I'm writing, my first column was, I hate to tell you people, but when your team comes on TV, everybody I know turns it off. And I go, you have a lousy team. And I understand fandom.
Mhm.
And I said to my young wife, they're going to kill me. I mean, literally, because I was getting death threats when death threats were not in vogue.
Yeah.
And people coming up to me in downtown diners and saying, go back to New York. And then John Ralston, who was the coach of the Broncos, I was told one day by the PR director that John wanted me in his office that day. And I said, well, I don't play for the team. I said, I come into my office at 3, you can go down to the Rocky Mountain News. No, he wants you here. So I came and he said, you need to go back to New York. And I said, I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. I'm not from New York. He said, that's not the way things are done in this town. And so it's following up on whether I thought, man, I have fucked myself beyond all reasonable. I said, I need to go back to Memphis. And I said to my wife, don't unpack anything because we're going to get out of this town because it's not going to go over here. And it suddenly turned. It suddenly turned where people wanted honesty. And Ron and I have talked about this because Ron was shortly after me, that the mood changed here. It became a city rather than a town. That when I came here, kids were going up and down 16th and 17th Street on Saturday nights like you would in a small town.
Yeah.
They were just trolling. And the other thing was when I saw the Christmas decorations on City Hall in late January, I went, they leave them up all year long. And somebody said, no, they leave them up until the stock show so the Cowboys can look at the Christmas decorations and the nativity. They can go up and touch the nativity scene. And I went, I don't know that this place, and there wasn't much sports out here, really. The Broncos were so bad. The hockey team was a minor league hockey team. The Rockets were terrible. And of course, there was not baseball. And I said, I had a chance to go to Atlanta, which had 4 teams at the time, including a hockey team. And I took a chance on this and I stayed, and I thought, and you guys have carried on the tradition of being honest.
Yeah.
That's all I called it. I said, my parents taught me to be honest. I wasn't.
Well, look where we are now. If you're speaking honestly about Denver sports, I mean, look at this town right now. Look at the Broncos, the Avalanche, and the Nuggets.
We could have 3 champions.
Look at this.
At least potential.
Do you guys remember in your careers here this good at the same time? This much greatness at the same time. I've never seen it.
I looked back weeks ago to see about the Avalanche and the Nuggets in the same season. There were so many seasons where one would get in the playoffs and the other team was awful, didn't get into the playoffs. Then I looked up how many cities have won 3 or 4 championships in the same season, same calendar year, whatever. And Detroit calls itself the City of Champions, but that was 3, and then the Wings won a year later. But there is not a city where 3 teams in the same city won championships in the same season. And we could have that in, I shouldn't say that, in a calendar year.
Sure.
Because the Broncos could win in the 25 season and the Avalanche and the Nuggets. And I know this is crazy to even think about it, but they could win in the 25-26 season. So
right, but it's interesting because it's not just championships. It is, like you talked about, the level of play with Jokic and with McKinnon and Makar.
2 MVPs, 3 MVPs. Makar could be an MVP.
But then you also flip that over and you look at the play Pat Surtain made this weekend.
Sure.
Last year's Defensive Player of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, he made the play that changed the season against Gardner Minshew and the Raiders. Now he makes this play against the Packers.
He may get a chance to make a play against Gardner Minshew again.
I know he's going to see Gardner in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But the level of players, too, because when you talk about growing up with Elway, I mean, Elway was, I mean, the Nuggets had good players, but Elway was Elway.
Sure.
But if you're a kid now, you're growing up watching these guys play. I mean, you got your choice.
Oh, and you're absolutely right. They can watch them now.
Well, that's another story. But
Your fault, Vic. I'm sure. Yeah.
I would love to talk more openly about this, but a few weeks ago I was watching the show and Ron instructed me to take my mortgage and all my money
I did.
and put it on the Chiefs. And I did that. And we've been living at my mom and dad's house ever since.
How did the Queen of Chicken handle
Yeah,
that?
we need more commercial spots.
Oh God, I feel so unsatisfied. Oh,
So
I'm glad you brought that up.
one thing that you've done a lot of lately is talk about your health.
Yeah.
I had you on when I was still doing Over at 9 when you had your prostate cancer diagnosis, and you've been really out front with it. And we've seen other people do this. The impact that has is immeasurable, but it's positive. So bring us up to date.
Well, I'm currently in limbo, and thank you for bringing that up. And the reason I'm out front with it is because it's my therapy. I mean, some people deal with it privately, and I respect that. I deal with it publicly because the more I talk about it and the more I get it out there, the more feedback I get, the more people, oh, really? You're trying that? Oh, really? You're doing that? And it's helped me. It helped me get into different doctors. It's helped me get in front of people that I otherwise wouldn't meet, to be honest with you. So a lot of it is selfish because I really want to fight this thing. I have aggressive prostate cancer. It's not just prostate cancer. It's aggressive. And it's aggressive enough where if I hadn't found out when I got it, I would have been dead pretty quickly. And now I'm at a point where it returned a year ago and it attached itself to my bladder and I got some target radiation done. And now I've got to go back in a month to see if it worked. And if it didn't, we go on to the next level, whatever that may be. So that's where I stand.
But you look so fit and healthy. Do you feel fit and healthy?
I feel great.
Yeah.
I mean, it feel great. You know, it's a hidden disease. I mean, it doesn't really attack you until it attacks you.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I know I have cancer, and I'm going to live with cancer for the rest of my life. Just a quick story. I was at the cancer radiation ward at Mayo, and I'm sitting there in 2.5 weeks of treatment, and I'm sitting next to this young girl, and she's in a wheelchair. She's bald, and she'd been in that radiation center all week with me. And I start talking to her, and somebody goes up and rings the bell. And I was like, wow. She goes, man, I'll never get to ring that bell. She was there, and she had 4 months to live. And it just gave me a new perspective that when you have cancer, my opinion is you're going to have it and battle it for the rest of your life. And that's just the way it is. And I'm all right with that. I'm good with it. You know what? If someone says to me, you're free and clear, I won't believe them.
Right.
Because I think it's always lurking.
How has it changed your life, Vic?
It's made me less afraid to say whatever the hell I want. It's made me more, I want to say it's made me a better family man, but I'm not sure it has. I try and really savor those moments. It's made me appreciate that life. I never knew what mortality was. You know, when you're living and you're never sick and you're like, yeah, that doesn't affect me. I'll be fine.
Right.
Now I know what mortality is.
Sure.
And that perspective, I think, has given me a new look at everything.
Yeah, my daughter and I both have had the cancer this year. I had melanoma, which is, people go, oh, it's melanoma, but it's cancer.
Sure.
And you
Sure.
die of it. My daughter having breast cancer this year, and my mother died of liver cancer. And when you mention the word mortality, I think people have to understand that for men, prostate cancer is very much a certainty almost.
Yeah, you're going to, I mean,
You might
eventually.
die and you have prostate cancer. And for women, breast cancer. And we can talk about what's going on in the world, but there are scientists and doctors that are in companies all throughout the world that are making advances.
Sure.
And we hope that for your kids and for the next generations that we stop talking about wars and hatred in this country, and we all get together and say the enemy is not Russia. The enemy is not in the Middle East. The enemy is right here with us. With somehow we've got to solve the cancer issue.
We do. You know, if you're over 70 now, a lot of these insurance programs, they won't even check you for prostate cancer anymore. So you have to ask your doctor. And being over 70, well into it, I've had like 5 years now where when you get your physical, you have to say to your doctor, oh no, I want to be checked.
Yeah.
You know, draw my blood, do an exam, whatever you have to do, because lost too many friends to that particular cancer. And I echo what Woody says. You know, I lost really closest friend you could have this year to pancreatic cancer. And we have to get a handle on this.
You know what age I'm at right now? And I'm 56, and someone would say, 50s are young. I'm at that age where in the last 5 years, I'm now going to the obituary section of the paper and reading it. And I never thought I'd get to that age and actually reading it, like causes. And I know that's morbid, but I don't know if you guys do that, but that's what I've been doing.
Well, there's two stories about that. I was an obituary writer.
Were you really?
And
that explains a lot, Woody.
And that's where in newspaper businesses, they put you that to kind of learn to get names right.
Yeah.
And to get diseases right. And I wrote in Memphis at the Commercial Appeal, I was a kid, and I wrote that somebody died of cancer. And they threw that back in my face. They said, we don't say cancer in an obituary. And I went, what do you mean? That's a terrible disease. And they said, long illness. And so I had to write that Tom Jones died of a long illness. And so one day I turned in a obituary and I said, Fred Smith died yesterday of a short illness. and the city editor said, what in the world is this? I said, he was in a traffic accident. That was kind of
It was pretty short, son.
So I was making fun of that. But now, I mean, it's common to say.
Mhm.
You couldn't say the word. It was,
I don't mind talking about it.
See, but it's just an incredible disease that we do need to all stress.
That touches every single
not
family.
one person. So
You mentioned.
but
Go ahead.
just that my aunt, when I was an obituary writer, she said, I read the obituaries every day like you.
Mhm.
And I said, I understand that. She said, but since you're writing these, would you explain to me why people die in alphabetical order? That's not a joke.
Oh.
Because she'd
it's
start
incredible
reading
because
it.
you
and it would
know-
be, so I don't know, when you're looking at it,
You're
are
good,
people
Zappolo.
still dying in
Yeah,
alphabetical
I'm
he's
order?
at
in great shape, I'll tell you. I knew there wasn't a reason I was in the
No.
back of the class.
We don't always get
forever.
disease.
Exactly. But when he's reading the obituaries and he's
Oh.
going through them, you're going to be he may not get all the way to
I
the
admit,
disease.
that'll be just fine.
You said you're less afraid now to say whatever the hell you want. I
Yeah.
never thought you were. You've
Well, let's
always
give him
been-
that opportunity. Let's talk about whether the Broncos will be in the Super Bowl.
Well, no, but it's like your roles now.
Yeah.
You know, we see you, we hear you in the mornings, and we see you in the evenings talking about those things. And I always thought you were pretty free talking about whatever you want. And some of the stuff like is about Denver, like
Sure.
the north side of
The
Denver.
changes,
Are
yeah.
you allowed to
Don't-
call it? What do you?
don't- It's North Denver.
North Denver. Can't have another name.
There's no Highlands and any of that
No
bullshit.
Rhino. No.
North Denver.
It's North Denver.
And
It's, and that's fine. You can call it whatever you want. But for me and in my ilk, it's North Denver.
And that includes an ethnicity, right?
Well, not necessarily. Because listen, I grew up in North Denver when it was mainly Mexican and Italian.
Right.
My best friends were Mexican and Italian and Mexican. And that's what it was. If you go to North Denver now, it's not that. Okay. It's a different world.
Right.
And that's fine. But I just remember when I grew up there, and
Yeah.
that's how I choose to remember it.
Are you free to say the same things on altitude that I know you were free to do on Channel 4?
100%. And one of the things that I really cherish at altitude, and I mean this, at no point has anyone ever said to me, oh, you can't say that. Because I had this conversation coming in. When I started the radio show there, I said, if you don't let me say stuff, if you don't let me criticize the teams when I need to criticize them, we're done here.
Well,
We're done here. It doesn't mean any, because
your credibility is
exactly
gone.
because listeners then, and I've actually had this conversation with coaches. I said, consider this a gift. Like when the Nuggets were coming on and they became a championship team, I said, when you're criticized in town for maybe a lackluster effort
You
after a
arrived.
win, you've arrived.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That means you matter.
You matter.
When you don't matter, nobody gives a crap. Nobody talks about you. You matter now. And when you graduate to that I matter stage, get ready because it's coming.
So what
I
happened with the
always thought
Rockies
about-
at second base? Because that took a,
I always thought about you when you were doing it, being fair and honest. I'm
Sure.
using that word honesty again. But we worked for a radio station that had the Nuggets and the Avalanche.
yeah.
And nobody ever said to us,
Well, you're you, and I worked with Doug Moe
Mhm.
and then Dan Issel, and the only sensitivity would be mostly I felt it was whenever we had Drew Goodman was doing the Nugget games at the time, and we'd have
Yeah.
Drew on. He was a great guest and a great guy, but he felt you had to be careful because he thought Bernie Bickerstaff was always
Oh,
looming
sure,
and
and
lurking.
Bicker-
and
Yeah,
he
you
was,
worry about
which
your
he was.
welfare, your
Yeah,
job,
yeah.
you know. Now there's stuff I know that I see behind the scenes that I just don't think it's
Appropriate to
proper.
report.
Exactly. It's not proper to get it out there. And I would never do that, even if I worked for a competing station. You just
But I did watch you the other day.
Hmm?
It was a couple of weeks ago, and you did take a shot at the Nuggets. You were concerned after one of those
Yeah.
home losses, and
yeah.
I sat in my house and said, "Way to go, Vic."
Well, I mean, I thought because they lost 4 straight at home, and I sort of got into it with our co-host, and it's great because you always have to have somebody else,
Sure.
and
Foil.
it's healthy. It's healthy. And some people afterwards were like, and this is the part I hate. Oh, you know that you shouldn't go there, or on social media. Oh, that was. What do you mean? It's just
Of course you
debate.
should go
It's
there.
sports.
Sports.
This is
But-
sports debate. We're debating the team. We're not debating life
the other
and
thing,
death
Vic,
here.
if someone's not mad at you all the time,
You're doing it wrong.
you're not doing your job.
Exactly right.
But there are instances for all of us where you have to be careful. And I worked with Drew, and he said, just don't put me in a situation Bernie Bickerstaff. And I said, no, I'll never. You don't have to talk about him. And I said, Bernie Bickerstaff's the worst dick, because he would call you at night and call you a racist. And I said, he's a terrible coach and he's a terrible general manager. And I know Drew agrees with me.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, Wood.
Drew, response?
So
let's
I did put him in a bad spot, but I said, but he's not going to join us in this conversation.
But when you're a play-by-play guy, that's part of the deal. You're going to have to put yourself in positions where if the team you're covering is not good, you're going to have to figure out a way to navigate that, and it's not easy.
Let's go back to what you were talking about, though. Growing up, loving Elway, loving the Broncos, when they won their first Super Bowl, because when they won, I'm thinking about what I'm going to write.
Right.
This one's for John. What was your feeling about fandom then, and were you more?
You want to know what my feeling was?
You were just getting into. I mean, you were early on, and
Super Bowl 32. All right, I had just experienced devastating Super Bowl defeats with the Broncos as a fan. Super Bowl 32. I'm working in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm the sports director at the CBS affiliate. Well, I managed to get press credentials for that game in San Diego, right? I know you guys were all there. I really shouldn't have been there, but I'm a Bronco fan. I wanted to go cover the game.
Sure.
Seth Joyner was a linebacker for that Broncos team who used to play for the Cardinals. So that was my in. I was like, hey, I got to go cover Seth Joyner.
We got to see
it.
So you're asking on the Seth Joyner story.
If you're asking what my reaction was as I got onto the field and the Broncos were celebrating and I turned to do a live shot, why is my dad standing next to John Elway? My dad got in on one of the credentials that I had. That's what my question was. I did the worst thing you could possibly do. I got a family member into the game. And back then, remember how Super Bowl credentials looked?
Yeah.
They're basically like little red coupons.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Yeah.
Go in and watch the Super Bowl.
This to
Today, you got to give up DNA to
Yeah.
get into a game.
I was going to ask you about the Nuggets because we were doing that, but let's do Broncos. This team has got something going on. And I think for all the doubters and stuff, this last weekend was a big weekend. The way they won, the team they beat, they still have a gauntlet to finish this off, this regular season.
Yeah.
But it's the most wide open NFL tournament I can ever remember. So this team might have a why not us attitude as well as who's going to beat us.
You know what this team reminds me of? And I'm glad I'm in the right room to make this comp, because every time I bring this up on the radio, I get a lot of empty stares. This team reminds me more of that 77 team than a lot, because they had a lot to prove that year. They hadn't done anything, right? So you go through this valley for 10 years of nothingness here, and now you're building up this product again. And the Broncos had to prove themselves. In 77, they had to prove it against the Raiders. The Raiders stole their cookies and their candy every year. This year, this team had to prove it against the Chiefs. And they continue to have to prove themselves. I'm not saying we got a remake of 77, but it's the closest comp I have to any other team. Everybody questioning back then, did they have the right quarterback? Remember, they had an old quarterback back then who was constantly hurt. This year, they have a young quarterback who's constantly trying to prove himself. So to me.
Yeah, and they were, having covered it, that they were winning in a similar style.
In sort of dirty, dirty games.
6-0.
Yes.
And then they were winning 12 to
defensively.
8, and there was in the defense. And I want to do a comparison of the defenses of 77 and this team at some point go through, because that team had 6 or 7 guys that would end up playing in the Pro Bowl from the defense.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not going to happen here, but it's close in terms of Surtain, and everybody talks about they may have another defensive player of the year. although his numbers have kind of backed off in the last 3 or 4 because there are guys like Zach Allen that are.
So, but Zach
Monster.
Allen, I was going to say, he reminds me of he kind of makes the whole thing go like a Reuben Carter did back then. Like he doesn't make the tackle, he doesn't get the sack, but he allows everything to happen around him.
I tend to compare more Jones in the middle to Reuben Carter, Hurricane,
DJ Jones,
and I thought you were going to say Alzado because he was a destructor. He was a guy that destroyed people, and that's exactly what we see out of Zach. We saw it again Sunday, and they had Louis Wright. Guess what? Patrick Surtain II. They had Steve Foley.
What they don't have is Randy Gradishar.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have that kind of guy that eats up
except
tackles.
Greenlaw.
He's not Randy Gradishar.
Yeah, Randy was just a.
He's coming around.
He's coming around, but he's not Randy.
And he's
Gradishar.
coming around before the game.
So which
I like your analogy though, because that's still my all-time favorite team. I remember every player on that team, covering all the games. But let me throw this at you.
Yeah,
I think the Broncos have achieved so much this year that, in my mind, if they don't at least get to the Super Bowl, the year is a disappointment.
Based on what? Your original expectation or your changed expectation?
No, based on where I am now.
Right now.
Looking at home field advantage, having to win 2 games, and it doesn't matter who comes in here. They're going to be confident against anybody.
But I think you're right, bringing that up with him, that I think the expectation was win a playoff game.
Yes,
sure.
If you could win a playoff
that was the
game.
initial expectation.
That's initial.
But when you
things
say
change.
you say they can beat anybody who comes in here, the question is, are they going to make people come here? They have these 3 games left. The Kansas City game now is a weird Thursday night, no Mahomes, they're done. But those 2 home games, Jacksonville and the Chargers, will dictate
100%.
if people come here
And
or don't.
Jacksonville's the biggest game of the year.
Isn't it odd, because I was right in the middle of the last time, isn't it odd that Jacksonville could destroy another season, 2 seasons, of the
and
Broncos?
there is no one
when I
hotter
say
right now than Trevor Lawrence.
Well, it was supposed to be Green Bay, though, right? Oh, Green Bay is going to be the measuring stick.
Yeah.
They stood up to the Packers. If they can stand up in successive weeks to 2 very good offensive teams, then I'm sorry, I'm already sold. But I want to go back to your expectation thing, because I think that's what makes sports such a beautiful thing. Our expectations constantly change. At the beginning of the season, make the playoffs, win a playoff game, and you got me. Now it's like, oh my God, if they don't make the playoffs, it's a terrible year. I go back to 2005. Do you remember in 2005 when everything fell the Broncos' way and they hosted the AFC title game and they lost in devastating fashion at Pittsburgh? If they win that game, I think we all agree they're probably Super Bowl champions.
Right.
And about once a week, the guy who was quarterback sits in that same chair.
Exactly. But I look at that season, and maybe it's my perspective now. I'm old. That was a great season. Well, they went beyond expectations. It ended badly. It sucked. But would you classify that season as a bad season?
Not looking back, I would not. But every city and every organization has their own unique set of expectations.
Sure.
I'll give you the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know what their level is. They've got a whole fan base there that says playoffs.
Yeah.
That's no good. We're in the playoffs every year. So I think looking at this, you have a head coach who told his team in the summertime they were good enough to win the Super Bowl. Now he's convinced an entire fan base and a bunch of people that were doubters that they are good enough. So I don't think you can go out and get home field advantage and lose in the first round and say, hey, it was still a great year. We won 13, 14 games.
Who do you not want to play in the first round? Let's say that's what I was going to say, because it's not Pittsburgh or Houston. Buffalo is your
that offense scares
we were
me.
talking about before the show
before
we started, and he said Buffalo, and the 2 of us. I hope I'm not giving away what you said. But we said the Texans. I think the Texans. It's tough enough to beat a team twice, but that's not the Texans the Broncos beat.
Nope.
That is a much stronger team.
That would be my second.
The other reason. Buffalo's defense is not that good.
Yeah.
Houston's defense scares me.
Yeah. But I just don't know if you'd see them as in your first game. You know, I think they're good enough. Who knows how
it's going to shuffle 3 more times.
There's so much to be. And listen, Denver could still end up with the 5th seed.
Yeah. Who do you want to play? Because Pittsburgh to me looks like a mess.
Yeah. You know, that's a great question. I mean, anybody's gettable. Guys, I'm talking to the right. Again, in 96, did you guys think Jacksonville would pose a problem?
No, that was a layup.
Did you think
Yeah.
that? Did you think Baltimore?
Neither did they.
Did you think Baltimore would pose a problem?
Unique
a team
weather
that you
day.
beat earlier in the season, by the way. You're right about that, because remember the season that they lost to Baltimore, the Ravens here.
Yeah.
The Broncos
Raheem
went to
Moore
Baltimore and beat them,
Yeah.
and here they
The
come.
Raheem Moore
Yeah, I
game.
mean, this stuff happens. Even better teams.
But Trendon Holland, wasn't he the only guy who got in the end zone really?
Twice.
He got 2 returns.
Yeah. You know, that's the one thing about this team that you've yet to prove to me, because if you recall that game, that loss to Baltimore, the weather was awful.
Ice
it was
cold.
colder than
It was
That
minus
was
a
the
million.
beginning
Coldest
of
I've
the
ever
end
been
for
in my
John
life.
Fox.
Yes.
You know when I think when Elway decided he wanted to fire John Fox?
Yeah.
Is when Peyton Manning got the ball with like 40
and
seconds. to
sat
go.
on it.
I think Elway looked at that and said, "That's
A lot of people.
beginning
A lot of people saw
the
that.
Yeah.
end." Yeah.
A lot
Yeah,
of people
they
thought
sat
that
on
But
wasn't
only
great.
one guy had the vote,
But-
and he was like,
But
"Nah, I don't." think so."
nowadays, 40 seconds, especially with the field goal kickers, even in
Oh,
that
it's a
weather,
joke.
it's
Well,
like
it
40
was
seconds.
even then, though. I mean, for a guy like Manning, and you don't give him a chance.
Yeah, no,
he
it
couldn't
was,
feel his hands he could not feel his hands. And that's why I bring this up with this team. Hey, they proved a lot by winning against Green Bay. That was a tropical paradise game.
Yeah.
I want to see how they react to the bitter cold of playoff football.
But
Have
I'm
they
going to get
played
that
in it
this
yet?
Sunday.
Hey,
Even
what's-
though you and I say the Texans, I wanted to be the Buffalo Bills here for one reason. I want to see Josh Allen in a serious game in the stadium, and I want him, when he loses, say it still sucks to be a Ram.
You know, it has never in his career set up better for Josh Allen than it is right now.
Well,
Even
even
though
though worry
they're
about Kansas City.
Probably
Yeah.
have to go on the road. No
Yeah.
Mahomes, no Lamar
Yeah.
Jackson, no Joe Burrow. And to your point about Buffalo,
Mhm.
he's the reason that, you know, when a guy can be responsible for 6 touchdowns and a guy's never out of a game
Yeah.
and a guy can run over your best linebacker and get up and go, you tried.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
I would like to see a repeat. We think about Broncos in Super Bowls in the past. I would like to see them play Carolina again.
Yeah.
Wouldn't we all?
That would be nice. Hey, every morning you get up and you do the show, and you have Mark Mosier, Brett Kane. I know Brett's out now.
Yeah.
Matt Smith's filling in, but this must be different for you, like having an intelligent conversation with normal people as
Yeah.
opposed to that.
I'm not used to actually having a retort that's not about music or
Some
No.
abstract thing that pops
Listen,
into
man.
Mosier's head.
it's when we get people say we listen to your show and love the show. Guys, I'm not joking. When I get done with our show in the morning and I'm walking around, I don't even know what the hell we just talked about for 3
Can't
hours.
remember. It's a
I
blur.
can't remember.
Yeah.
You know, you just and that's when you know you're having fun at your job,
Yeah.
because you're just talking. You get paid to just talk sports, and in this day and age, it's not just sports; it's more than that. And when I'm tired of it, is when I'm going to walk away from it. I'm not tired yet. And
Don't walk away until you
Yeah.
squeezed
Yeah.
every
You know what, though,
drop
Ron?
out of it. You can.
Ron, you know what the truth is? And people ask me all this. You know, I'm a television guy who does radio. That's what I've always
Sure.
been. I
Right.
started in radio, but I'm a television. For the first time in my life, in my career, I'm actually having more fun doing radio than television.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a freer
Yeah.
form for
And
sure.
what's fun for me is I had this great idea of going to news anchors
Mhm.
and saying, "Wouldn't you like to go back to talking about sports?"
Yeah.
Because and
That's why we're
those-
here.
Well,
Those
these
guys-
guys, what they did is an amazing transition and something I could not do. These guys were able to go from sports to
Yeah, you
news.
could have done it.
Oh,
I don't know,
I'm
man.
going to tell you why you could have done it. You have the broadcasting savvy to be able to do it. You're incredibly bright.
But I'm
You
too
would just-
sophomoric is my
you
problem.
could do it because you would change your.
Yeah.
You would use the same skill. You would just read differently and approach it differently. You could, don't sell yourself short. You
But
could do it.
but a guy that's here that did it, and I
Yeah.
did it in 1984. I switched from writing
Yeah.
sports to
Yeah.
writing a general column, and I never felt that my type of writing style fit. And I was told that by my bosses. They go, "You can't, you can't treat it like it's sports." And I said, "I'm treating it like it's sports. The
Hmm.
politics is like
They are
sports. They
identical
enter
now.
each field." And so I went back, and when I thought about doing the show, I said, the two people that I had the greatest respect for made the transition and made it so smoothly. They must want to go back like I did.
I think Ron always did want to go back. I don't think I did as much.
Tom and I
Ron
always
missed the-
talked about
yeah.
this. I missed it more than you did.
Yeah.
How'd you get Ron off the golf course?
It's
Cold
hard.
weather.
I
Cold
mean,
weather, Vic. Hey,
'Cause
Vic,
we-
I'm week to
'cause we
week on
do
this show,
6
and it warms
shows a
up.
day, and then he doesn't. He's like those guys that do game shows on
Yeah.
network television. He does 5 shows in one day
been a
and
tough
doesn't
day.
have to show up for a month
That's
again.
what we used to do it with Sports on Tap. Who'd you listen to on talk radio? Everyone listened to Irvin Joe at some point. but
Irvin Joe Sandy.
Sandy.
Sandy was the authority figure. He was the guy that. Listen, we all have different styles,
Right.
different demeanors, different personalities. Obviously, Sandy's personality is much different than mine. But when I wanted to learn something, when I wanted to learn the rhythm of how to deliver the information, the news, I learned from everybody. I gleaned from all of you. But was there anything better than Sandy Clough after a Broncos game?
No,
Oh, man.
no, because he
Oh.
brought an East Coast radio talk show to
Something
Denver.
that no one ever, and I would sit there with glee, just couldn't wait for postgame. And I wanted at times for the Broncos to lose
Because
just so I could hear Sandy
Yes.
talk about the game.
the best when he went full on somebody.
Oh, yeah.
When
Yes.
he went full light
Yeah.
up. It was must listen.
No, I
to
worked
radio.
with Sandy a ton at 4 during that time, and he would do those shows, and he would come over the next day and go, "Did I go too far?"
Just outstanding radio.
Oh, he was great. He
So
was
and
great.
I worked with Irv for 7-8 years.
Yeah.
And I'd gone to him and I said, KHOW had fired him. They got rid of everybody. And I went to him and I said, why don't you do a show with me? I said, we are at opposite ends of the world. And you live in No Den. I'm sorry.
Up
I always
towards
called it
Broomfield.
Yeah. We take it slower up north.
Yeah. yeah. I'll be home soon, honey.
Yeah.
He would say
Yeah.
at the end of the thing. And he said, I can't do talk radio. I can't do talk radio. I said, what are you going to do? He said, I'll substitute teach and continue to referee. And I said, do you know what they pay for substitute teaching? I think I can. And I think when we started together, we probably were making about the same as substitute teachers. But I really enjoyed it because he would say to me, I'd say, Doug Moe would say, they lose by 40. He'd go, oh, that was great. We're going to win tomorrow night. I said, you're going to Philadelphia tomorrow night. I promise you. And they'd go into Philadelphia and win. And so Irv and I are having this discussion. And I said, they're just games where you give up and say, get to the next one.
Mhm.
This one's not working tonight. That's not really true in the NBA anymore.
No,
Or
they
even
wear them a
in
little longer now.
Yeah. And
There was never a nicer guy than Irv.
Well, Irv's the only guy I know who could go from calling a College World Series game to a heavyweight boxing match to a Nuggets game and then do his radio show and referee. I've
Do it
never
all.
seen someone that can cross so
He-
many
I-
lines.
but you
I
missed the biggest one. He is the only guy to ever give in a national championship game McGuire 2 technicals.
Al,
It's remarkable.
all courtesy of Scott's Liquid Gold.
Yeah, Scott's Liquid Gold.
You
From
know
a
what made,
garage on
Garage
Garfield
up
Street?
on what was the
I think it
street?
was Garfield.
what
Garfield
made Irv
Street.
so good is that again, I'm learning everything from everybody, right? And I'm learning he had the ability to express confidence even if he didn't know what the hell he was talking
Yeah,
about.
That was
yeah.
his greatest trait,
Yeah.
Vic. I did about 5 years on the Nuggets cable network that
Right?
Yeah.
Carl Scheer put together when it was Irv and I. And there were so many stories, but people would come up to Irv. Irv knew everyone. And I would say, Irv, who was that guy? He goes, his dad played for me at North. Or,
Oh,
he
sure.
knew everybody.
Yeah.
And then
Oh,
there
we-
was
yeah.
a point during the games where we would do halftime interviews. Irv knew every guy in the league because he had
Yeah.
worked them in college.
And we would do remotes from Italian restaurants and places, and everybody would come up to Irv and go, yeah, and he went, what'd you play? And I'd see some guy 5'4", I knew he didn't play anything. And he'd say, give me your card.
Yeah.
He was,
And he would talk about it.
Great
But
people guy.
yeah, he was the most enjoyable. But he and I used to talk about the origins because he grew up here well before you. He never would let people know his age, by the way. But when I came here, there were 2 talk shows. One was Bob Martin and KOA. And that talk show was, good afternoon, Bob. Can you give me the Cubs schedule this month?
Pretty much.
That's exactly what and he'd read it. He'd read it. Well, they're going to be home for the next week and stuff. And I went, man, I had done some talk radio in Memphis before I left. And I said, that's not what I grew up with Franklin in Cleveland.
Joe Franklin.
Pete
Franklin.
And he'd say to kids would call him, he'd say, get off the line, go do your homework. And he'd yell at people. That was talk radio to me nationally because they were 50,000 watt stadium. And KOA was not going to criticize the Broncos or really talk about Colorado sports. And KW 560.
KWBZ.
KLZ.
Had a guy who did Colorado State sports, an older guy, and he and Star Yellen would do a show for 30 minutes 3 times a week or something. And they came to me, and I got fired at some station. There were 16 of them overall, and they said, "Do you want to do talk radio against Bob Martin?" And I said, "Yeah, because I'll do real talk. I'm not going to have schedules of baseball teams." And so I did it, and like 2 months later, the general manager of the station came and said, "I got some bad news." And I said, "Oh, really? Yeah. How are we doing?" He said, "Well, I'll talk about that. Our sports director, his contract's ended, and we're not going to renew it." And I said, "Well, that is really bad news." He said, "That's not the bad news." Because I'm thinking, well, I wonder who will get to replace him. And so we lasted 2 months. And that's when KWBZ came to me and said, "Do you want to do talk radio?" If I list the names of people, Mike Hafner and I did it, but before that was Mike Wolf.
Yeah,
Okay.
remember Mike?
Yeah, who went to Washington, D.C.
I remember Al Albert and I filling in for Bob Martin a couple times. He didn't find that all that amusing.
No.
By the
Hey,
way,
I got 2 more questions.
So that was
for you
anyway.
from me.
That was kind of just the origins of
What
talk
was
radio.
it like growing up in Denver? And can the Nuggets get past Oklahoma City this year?
You know, Oklahoma City is obviously the superior team in the NBA. To beat them, you would need something to go your way. And that something would have to be, if there's a team that can beat them, it's the Nuggets, I believe. It's the Nuggets because they don't know any better, right? They're that kind of team.
Sure.
And if you look at what the Nuggets have done on the road, their road record's better than their home record.
still haven't.
When's the
lost a
last time
game
you guys have seen a Nuggets team do that?
Yeah.
Right? That's the one thing that gives me belief that they could pull it off. Would it be a surprise? I got to admit, it would be.
I think even getting to the Western Final is going to be hard this year.
I totally agree. But if there's one team, I'll turn it around, Ron. If there's one team Oklahoma City does not want to play, who is it?
Denver, because they have one player who's an impossible matchup.
Exactly.
Who can take over
But
games.
Exactly.
you got to get everybody healthy.
Yes.
That's what happened last year.
Yeah.
They would have come closer
this year, the Nuggets
or had a chance to beat them if they'd had
if they were healthy.
Healthy.
But their story
Aaron
about the
Gordon.
Nuggets' story of health this year is an interesting one because they are riding the Aaron Gordon, Christian Brown injury pretty well.
Yeah.
They're doing pretty well without them. Jamal Murray's health is as big a story as any with the Nuggets because this is the first time he's ever come towards Christmas and been playing every night. As
Looks
well
like a
as he's
different
playing.
player, doesn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
he gets
so his
he
health.
gets the All-Star. I think people were fatigued about Joker and wouldn't give him the MVP.
Yeah.
I think people are anti-fatigued and say it's time to give him an All-Star berth.
Tricky this year though with the world
It
team
is.
and
It's a
the
little
American
different
teams.
format, so I don't know how it's going to fall.
I think
he's
they've got a
Canadian,
chance,
so,
Vic,
I mean,
because I think they
well,
took them to 7
Canadian-
games last year with a team not as good
I agree.
as the team they have now.
And the other thing that gives me hope that the Nuggets, and again, it's weird that the Nuggets and OKC won't play until February, right?
Yeah.
But remember how OKC guarded Joker? Remember how they put Caruso in basically he
In
was
his
a
front
blanket.
pocket.
I mean, I think the Nuggets will have a counter to that this year. I think they'll be
You
ready for that.
trusted David Adelman?
I do. And I think Joker is a microprocessor. He will understand the counter move. You could fool him once. You could try. But the next time he plays you, he'll figure you out.
Yeah.
The guy's the smartest basketball player
Well,
I've ever seen.
And a national expert said the other day I wouldn't put him in the top 10 of all time. And they lose sight of his intelligence.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying basketball smarts. That's what people say. Boy, he's got basketball intelligence. No, he is an intelligent man.
Yeah,
He
100%.
thinks, go beyond basketball. You don't say that, someone is book smart. He could be a genius. That's what he is. He's a genius playing basketball. And nobody in America wants to think they're geniuses from other places. Speaking of which, this could be another year with MVPs in both leagues. And the Avalanche were being the Oklahoma City. And I look a few days ago, which I do every day, and I go, that team that stifles them.
They're right behind them.
Right
They're not
behind
losing
them.
either.
No,
Dallas.
They're not.
They're right behind them.
Wouldn't it be funny to have Dallas and Denver play in the NHL?
Yeah.
And again, have Oklahoma City and Denver play in the NBA, and that's a likelihood.
Heading that way.
And it
Take
could
that.
be Denver and New England in the AFC Championship. People don't, if they're not respecting Denver, they're not respecting New England even more.
Right.
So,
Well, especially after this week.
That
This
would
week
be-
changed things a little
we're
bit.
talking
I
about
think.
the three teams and how well they're doing. We could see deja vu in
Sure.
all three of those leagues for the teams.
Well, drink it in if you're a young person, because this doesn't happen too often.
That's for sure.
I mean,
How do you rank them, though? The three Denver pro sports teams right now, as far as potentiality to win the whole thing right now.
I still think the Avs are the best of the three, because the Avs have been there, done that. They've won it all, and they've sort of, the resume speaks for itself. Then it's the reason why the Nuggets aren't number one is because of that OKC thing.
Yeah.
Because the OKC's still there.
Big bully there.
Exactly. The reason the
But
Broncos
they won one.
I know,
and they still
but it's
got
just
players.
I know you're exactly right. I'm not saying they're not, but the reason the Broncos aren't there is because this rendition of the Broncos has to do it in the playoffs.
They have the softest tournament
Yes.
theoretically ahead
Agree.
of them. I think the NBA getting out of the West is going to be a knife fight.
And
I
Yeah.
think the NHL is always
Guys,
tough.
you guys have more football knowledge than anybody I know. Do you remember a football tournament that's going to start 3 weeks that has this many teams that could win it all?
But
I
it's not
don't.
that there's no one
Because there's no
giant.
one
There's-
dominant.
there's-
Yeah,
there's no team
I
you go,
don't
"Can't lose."
remember.
Usually,
Usually,
if you're in it this year,
yeah.
you got a chance.
Because
A real
usually it's
chance.
2 or 3 teams, right? Usually
Yep.
it's like, okay, but this year I'm like, anybody.
Yeah.
But it's going back to the NBA for just a second. We're not discussing a team that I watched a couple of nights ago play in Las Vegas, and that's the San Antonio.
Yeah, they're
Spurs.
scary.
I mean,
They're scary.
They beat
you talk about the
OKC.
They're
Western
coming.
Yes,
There's
and
a
that
good
was
ri- a
that
good
was with a
rivalry is
limping.
developing there.
I agree.
Wimby played 21
I
minutes.
didn't know he
Yeah.
was that tall. He's
Well,
taller.
his
You-
arms were that long.
Tom, everybody's that tall to me.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It's all relative.
So
So-
for the
Go ahead.
for the Broncos, we were talking about AFC teams
Okay.
that you don't want to play. Who would you not want to play in the Super Bowl? Would that be the Rams?
Rams.
The Rams, I think, if they roll into the
Mm.
Super Bowl, they're the best team now. And if they roll in, if they're healthy,
They're the best balanced team in the NFC.
yeah, and they've done it.
Uh,
So I got to get you on this though, because I'm looking at the college football playoff bracket.
Yeah. All right, thanks for having me, guys.
And I'm looking. I noticed one thing the committee did that was really smart is they put Tulane and James Madison on opposite sides, so they wouldn't meet until
Yeah.
until the championship game.
Sure, opportunity.
But I noticed Notre Dame didn't make it. I don't know if you pay much.
No, I was not aware of that till I got here today.
Yeah.
I was just informed. Here's the deal about college football. Here's the deal. And I really do believe this. As angry as I was that my school, and I know we started this whole conversation about not being a fan. I'm sorry. I can't help myself. It's a school that I invested a lot of money in. My parents did. But here's my deal. I love the debate that comes with college football. It's what makes it special and unique.
It's
And
rage.
you know
at
what we
times.
do? You know what we do in the media? We spend all this time saying, oh, you got to fix college football. You need a playoff. You need a meritocracy. You got to
Yes.
fix all this stuff. Not really. Because at the end of the day, this is why I enjoy it.
So
I
let me get
enjoy
this
the
straight.
debate.
You like the fact that like 8 or 9 70-year-old guys sit in a room and determine that Notre Dame, your school, is out.
I don't like
You
the fact,
enjoy that.
I don't like the fact the school is out, but I enjoy the debate that comes with it because it doesn't matter who's out. There's always going to be debate. I said this a couple years ago. Well, they got to expand the playoff. And I said, well, when they expand it, they're going to be debating the
Yeah,
teams that
sure.
are 13 and 14. We'll get it to 16. When they go to 16, Woody, is going to be 17, 18, and 19. There's never an answer here.
That was the hilarious aspect of all this because I've pushed for playoffs since I was the 22-year-old columnist. I actually had a logo that the artist put in my column in Memphis that said Super League.
Yeah.
That there would be a Super League eventually. Well, we're seeing that kind of three Super Leagues.
Well, it's everyone talks about.
But it's funny when you're saying it is, when we go to 12, there will be no more debate. There was more debate.
More debate now than there ever
about
has
13,
been.
14,
I
and
think
15.
there's debate because of the process, not because Notre Dame being left out in their reaction. But listen, guys, either you can believe me or not. They were assured they would be in.
Right.
Notre Dame was pretty much assured. And you know what assured them too? Every week when they looked at those polls, they were ahead of Miami.
And then neither
every
team
week.
plays.
Exactly. And then for weeks, they were ahead of Alabama.
Hey.
And Notre Dame kept beating teams by 30. And like, what happened?
I'll tell you what happened. It's like Animal House. You fucked up. You trusted us.
So it is the Wild West out there. There's nobody runs college football. Nobody runs nil.
Germany, Bob,
transfer portal. But when I think of nil and transfer portal, I think of what's been happening in Boulder. And you had an interesting chance last week to sit down and spend time with Deion Sanders, and you guys correlating about cancer battles, but also, I mean, he's one of the most interesting people in the sport in Colorado, and both in success and now in failure, people turn to him and want to hear what he has to say. What were your impressions the time you got to spend with him one-on-one?
One of the greatest public speakers I've ever seen. And I saw him, wield his craft in person with a bunch of people in this room. And I told him, I said, the two best public speaking coaches I've ever come across, Lou Holtz and Deion. And they're different type of speakers. But listen, we didn't get into football. I've been a pretty staunch critic of a lot of the stuff that he's done up there. I have been. I told him that. I thought it was fair enough I've been trying to chase down Prime since he's been here.
Right.
And it took this for me to finally interview him. But I told him, I said, you're going to have critics. I've been your critic. How do you deal with that? And he had a really good answer. He's his own guy. He's going to do it his way, no matter what we think, no matter what I say. And I respect that. You go back to it. Do it your way. Do it your way, no matter what anybody says. He's doing it his way. Do I believe in a lot of it?
Didn't look great this year.
It didn't.
On the field.
It didn't. I know this much. He desperately wants to fix it. I could see the pain that he wants to fix it because his reputation is on the line.
Did you like him?
I like him personally. I do. I still think there's a long way to go. Coaching. I think there's some things that he needs to change. Don't hire your friends.
Offensive coordinator.
Don't hire your
Don't
friends.
hire your friends.
Well,
it never works.
It never works in any line. I mean, you coaches do it all over the time. People say, well, why can't he do it? Pete Carroll's got 2 of his kids coaching for. Happens everywhere. Well, you better make sure it works. Otherwise, people are going to point to that.
Well, he did do a good job with some friends, like his son and Travis.
That's a good friend.
So those were 2 good friends.
Talented friends.
Yeah, those helped.
And he's brought in an offensive coordinator that I think has concepts.
This new guy, I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
And I'm going to go beyond what you say. I've occasionally been critical of him, but examine what the alternative was.
There was none. You're so right.
The alternative would have been to get another guy.
Yeah.
They went through 4 guys.
Yeah.
And, and there are reasons why you can't win at Colorado. There are some reasons. Someone asked me the other day, they said, what has he got to do? I said, well, one thing is get more African-American women to go to school at Colorado. that's a hard thing to say, but you're a young black man and you know that
Yeah.
90% of the population, not only at the school, but in that town is white.
Yeah.
And
It's hard
if
to
I
ask him, a
get
football
criticism-
coach too, to manage that. Deion has been unique in that he has addressed that and
Yeah,
helped that.
he gets more attention. I mean, Colorado gets more attention than they had.
He saved the football program.
Yes.
4 years ago on my radio show, we had a Colorado regent who advocated disbanding
Yes.
football
Shut
altogether.
it down.
And-
Yes.
So we went from that to suddenly
the
on-
hottest ticket in America.
So you're right. You're right. They had no choice
And
but
I
to
have
do that.
I have a compatriot that I have great respect for. They wrote they should get out of the conference again
Mhm.
and get into the Mountain West Conference. I
Yeah.
mean, can you imagine
Just to win.
what
Yeah.
alumni of
Mhm.
Colorado would have said that live in California, live in Colorado, whatever? No, you can't go to the Mountain West. Colorado State's trying to get out of the Mountain West, and will
Yeah.
this year.
Well, the good
basically
news is
be
I don't know
back
who's
to-
in any conference anymore.
Yeah.
They've all shuffled around.
You know,
now.
Stanford's in that ACC
Yeah.
long running.
Yeah, forget about
We're
Notre
near
Dame being
Unocean,
in a
just not the Atlantic.
Exactly.
and there's talk about Notre Dame. This is the weirdest one I've heard. Forming its own conference.
Yeah, I don't know what the
What
hell
is that?
would
A
be.
one-team conference, or you get?
How do you react to the criticism of people that say, hey, if Notre Dame had joined a conference, this wouldn't have happened to them?
You're probably right. But my counter would be if you were in Notre Dame's shoes, if you're any other school and you had a network
Sure.
pulling out a pocketbook every day and saying, do this, they
Yeah.
maintain their independence because they can.
Yeah.
They were.
And everybody who says, what? Let me see you try it.
Yeah.
Let me see another team try it and see how long it lasts.
It's the most historical, meaningful team other than the Yankees.
Mhm. Brand. I think you're going brands now. It's a brand.
Brand.
Yeah.
Brand.
It's a brand.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're talking about. I've been on probably 85 or 90 college campuses for games,
Yeah.
and I thought that Tennessee, where fans would go down the Tennessee River and get out. Oregon has.
I've been there.
similar
That's a
situation.
fun little venue.
Yeah.
They
I
vote
think
in.
the Army Navy
Yeah.
aspect, and somebody said, get rid of that game. No, Army Navy has a meaning in this country that goes beyond football. I think walking through the leaves past the little chapel for a Notre Dame
Yeah.
game is one of the most, I compare it to a ceiling
Yeah.
that's in the Vatican.
Sure.
Of walking through the leaves in the fall, past that chapel, everybody would, the students, when alumni would
You give me
stop there.
goosebumps.
Yeah, and you walk in and you see Jesus at one end of the stadium. And I went, man, I've been to 85 college stadiums and campuses. There is nothing like this. And I wanted to pull out Newton Rockney, the movie from 1936 or whatever, and just look at it again. I said, people who have never experienced this don't get what Notre Dame is all about. It's history.
It's also why a
It's
lot of people
success.
hate them because of what
Oh,
you
of
But
just
they
course,
said.
have
course.
I think it's inarguable, the best grotto in college football. They lead the nation in grotto.
He referenced Touchdown Jesus. I can't tell you how many times I went to that library and asked Touchdown Jesus to help me with this damn statistics exam, and it just came up empty.
You did
every
find the
time.
library though. That's
yeah,
pretty
but
good.
I mean, I was 0 for
Pretty
3 in
good.
stats, and so I was.
Hey,
Well,
we could talk to you forever, and we appreciate your time, but all we want to do now is just open up the phone lines.
We don't take calls like we used to in
I
radio.
know.
Those days are gone. This
Oh.
isn't.
but
Those are
I,
gone.
Yeah.
I want to get your comments. I vote in the Heisman Trophy, and I voted for the winner.
Yeah.
And I voted for a Vanderbilt
Mhm.
quarterback second, and I voted for a Texas Tech linebacker
Mhm.
for third. That was my opinion. I'm getting a lot of grief for it because I put it out as we can't say who you voted for until after it's over. And I put it out, and people said, "Oh, you got it wrong." Well, of course, everybody's got an opinion. But then I have the guy I voted second. pee all over me.
Oh my goodness, did he ever?
Next day.
Did he ever?
And I went,
Yeah, I mean,
oh, man,
good luck.
don't
The
do that.
Heisman's not what it used to be. Obviously, it doesn't carry the same weight, but that's a tough subjective. That's a hard one. I don't envy you for being a Heisman voter because that is not an
It's
easy
a tough,
vote.
tough view too when
but
you're
I'll
not the
tell you,
best school in Indiana, even.
Something you
from
don't
South
know
Bend.
about the Heisman voting. When I first started doing it, there'd be 1,000 people, and they'd just have guys that were 90 years old, and
You had to mail them
like
in.
whatever. And there were people who didn't
Mm.
ever. Now we get questionnaires. You have to prove you're watching football in person on television, that you're watching a lot of it, and you go through a three-pronged qualification. I wasn't requalified until like a week or two before it because they check you.
They're vetting the voters.
How do you get this voters? I've never been a voter of anything. No one's ever called me to
I
vote.
voted in the Heisman for 25 years.
Did you really?
Yeah, but it was back when if they knew you were alive, you could get the vote.
Yeah.
And then you had to mail it
Ron.
in by December
Ron,
9th.
they won't even let me vote in our HOA. I can't get any votes.
What you used to be able, if they check your pulse.
It was if you were alive,
You're good.
you're good. You can
Yeah,
vote.
but now I'm just telling you, it's a process that I have to go through as a guy who started voting on it in the 70s. And I go, I don't know whether this is good or bad. And someone asked me how many Heisman voters. I said, I can't tell you until a week before because I could be eliminated. My best was being on the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We're not interviewing me, but I thought that was most incredible and most lopsided kind of thing. I sat next to a guy in that meeting who would never vote for a black player. And I went, but your votes are all, they're not announced.
Yeah.
And you can do whatever you want to. And there were guys, I mean, I thought there was a punter for the Raiders that I thought was the greatest, greatest punter in the history. There was no punters in the, and somebody, if I said his name, and I won't, I'll protect names, got up and said, I'll never vote for a punter. And I know 10 guys in here who never vote for a punter. And I just thought he was automatic. And eventually he got in, and I was talking to him, and I told him that story. He said, they kept me out because I was a punter. He said, I averaged 60 yards, something like that. So the Heisman Trophy, I think at least you say it's not like the trophy itself, the meaningfulness of it, but they're doing it in the best way where they're eliminating people like him. That when he gets to be 70, they go,
it's too much.
You have a pulse,
it was way before that.
I'm kidding.
It was when I got the lobotomy and went over to Fox News.
He writes in
said,
Billy
"That's
Sims
enough."
every year. I mean, it might have passed.
I'm going to lead the fight to get all three of you into the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame, because I would like some people. I'm not allowed to be one of the judges or on the committee because
there's a spot open now that if you want to take it, it's I'll bequeath it to you.
I was not allowed.
Can you
to be
hand
in,
it out? When you're
I don't.
recently,
I was on that thing for like 25 years. I think their official thing is don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. So I don't think I can hand it to him.
They never let the door hit me on the way in because it was led by a bank president who hated me, and he made it clear that I said,
but you know what?
I've been here 50 years. I would actually think I would know athletes,
You deserved it the most of the four of us here. So
no.
So I'm glad that you did get in.
But all three of you have paved the way for what is going on in sports media in Denver today, which has changed. We're sitting here doing podcast and YouTube stuff, and you're doing that. It's not like it was when we started. It's not like it was when you started.
No.
It's changed.
Is it better or worse?
Newspapers have no influence whatsoever.
It's more congested. That's my answer. It's better for a lot of reasons, but there's a lot of traffic out there.
Yeah, but the problem I think with it, and I feel for some of the guys now and the women, because I don't think, because of the way it's changed, none of them had the power that we had. They didn't have the access. They didn't have the power. Like when
It's
in
not as central as it used to
Vic,
be.
in 1985, when I went on there in Channel 4, I kind of knew if you wanted to get some sports,
You got to go to a certain
Come
source.
see me.
You know
see
what's
me,
lost?
yeah.
You know what's lost today, and I'll leave you guys with this.
Well, can I say something
Sure.
so you get to talk last? I'm proud to be able to sit with you guys that we've had an influence here for decades, and that's why I brought up the thing. And the other thing that impresses me about being with the four of you is like the California governor, this is the way we put one leg over the other. And they asked him if that bothered
Did you
his
see that?
testicle.
I
And I'm
did read
asking
that.
you, are your balls hurting
Yes.
now? I mean,
I'm a man
no-
without a prostate.
no-
Doesn't bother me
Oh,
one
well,
bit.
bother
more
you at
room.
all.
More room
like
to move.
this.
I was kind of trying to end on the
Oh.
that
Well, leave us with something good, Vic.
Well, first of all, guys, you know how much I care for you guys and how much I admire you. And I think what's lost in today's world is that deep admiration. It's becoming tainted. There's so much hate in social media that sometimes the admiration that you have for people that carved the way for you, paved the path, as you guys have done for me, that gets lost. And I think we're losing our way. And that's my only message is to those who are coming up, help somebody else come up too, because you guys helped me. And I've made it my first order of business. I'm trying to help as many people up as you guys did yourself. So thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, it's great to see you. Thanks for coming by.
Appreciate it.
Continued good luck with your health, and we'll always be watching and listening as we do. A reminder to anyone out there, if you want to get in touch with us, you can always reach us, ath@guerrillasports.net. Next week's show may not be as good because we won't have Vic, but we'll be doing a show next week. So we hope to see you then.